Hi, I'm Lorraine Marchand. Welcome to the Innovation Alchemist, where we learn to master the pivot. You never fail as long as you're learning. One of the challenges leaders of innovation face is how far to extend themselves to fix a problem, whether it's at home, in the community, or at work. We're going to look at focus and scope through the eyes of an unlikely innovation role model. Recently, I met a woman, her name is Alice, and she told me her story. In 1995, Alice was a nurse, and she had gone on vacation to India with a friend. She saw all of the sights, as well as terrible poverty and sadness and illness in the streets. And on her last day of her trip, she asked whether the guide could take her to see Mother Teresa. He said sure. So Alice had a book of Mother Teresa's writings, and as she got out of the car and went to the little building, to Mother Teresa's room, it had a plaque above it, a wooden carved plaque that said Mother, and a little wooden bench in front of her office. And it just struck her that this was probably not the time and place to have Mother Teresa sign her book as though she was a celebrity, and a little bit embarrassed at her thought of doing that. She hid the book behind her back. And as Mother Teresa came out of the room, about 4'10", dark-skinned, with kind of a wizened sun and hard work look to her face, she asked Alice what it was she was hiding behind her back. And Alice said, well, I'm embarrassed, Mother Teresa. She said, I brought this book for you to sign, and, I realized that I shouldn't be treating you like you're a celebrity. My goodness, you're a saint. And Mother Teresa chuckled, and she said, well, Alice, what do you do? And Alice told her that she was a nurse. And Mother Teresa said, I need you here. I need you here to help me. I want you to think about it. So Alice spent the afternoon thinking. She had a flight heading out that evening with her friend, so she had to make a pretty quick decision about whether she was going to take Mother Teresa up on her request or not. And that evening, she called her husband. She skipped her flight. Her friend left without her, and she decided that she was going to stay and see what she could do to help. For 3.5 months, Alice slept on a 2-inch mat, and during the day, she held the hand and smiled at suffering and dying people in the streets of Calcutta who would be brought in from the street for some solace and refuge and care in their dying moments. And it got to her after a while. Alice says that it got depressing. Every day she was with dying individuals and holding their hands and just showing them love and respect, and they were very appreciative and smiled at her, but it was getting her down. So she asked Mother Teresa if there was any other assignments, and Mother Teresa said she could work with the children. So Alice went to work with the children, and these were children that were maimed and diseased, malnourished. Some of them didn't even have families. And she said that it was an amazing experience just holding the hands and looking into the eyes of these little children, because they had nothing, and yet they were just so joyous at this human interaction and kindness. So Alice, being a nurse from the U.S., one day went to Mother Teresa, and she said, Mother, in the U.S., I have contacts at pharmaceutical companies, and I could get us probably antibiotics and other medications and supplies, and we could do something to help these people. And Mother Teresa studied her for a moment, and she said, Alice, that is not our job. She said, our job is to show love and respect and compassion for people suffering, sometimes in the final hours of their life. And it is not ours to decide. It is God's will to decide when and how they pass into the next world. So Alice was a little taken aback by Mother Teresa's response, which would be understandable. But she says that in the aftermath, as she thought about it, it actually made a lot of sense. What can we learn about the importance of purpose, focus, and scope in everything that we do? Mother Teresa was clear on her purpose, to care for the ill and the dying. She was focused on sharing gifts of love, compassion, and respect for those people who were suffering. And she never wavered from her scope, this offering of human compassion and not straying outside of those boundaries. About what this means to us, I know that for me personally, I really gravitate toward problem solving and solutioning, and I can find myself getting deeper and broader into any kind of problem that I'm out there to help tackle. And it helps to think about the fact that if you're in a situation, you have a specific gift, you have a specific talent, you have a specific role in the problem. You don't have to solve the whole thing. It truly does take a village, or in the case of our work worlds, it takes a team to do any kind of project or activity. And so taking that step back and really thinking about what your specific role is in any situation, and not taking on the burden of trying to solve the whole problem, and exceeding your focus and exceeding your scope is probably a good thing to think about. So I hope that you'll be able to apply this to whatever situation you're dealing with now or in the future. Thanks for listening, and please join us for the next episode of the Innovation Alchemist.